Good evening, everyone. So thank you so much for joining with us today with another webinar with ISC2 Ireland chapter. So first of all, we would like to inform you this will be a recorded session, and then we'll be on LinkedIn Live. So, and then you'll be able to find the recording on our YouTube channel as well. Today, our guest speaker will be Chinthaka Ekanayake. So Chinthaka Ekanayake has about 9 years of experience in the network security domain. He has been with Palo Alto Networks close to 5 years now and currently works as a domain consultant for India and SAARC regions based in Bangalore. Prior to joining Palo Alto Networks, he served as a network security consultant for the largest conglomerate in Sri Lanka. Chinthaka's expertise is backed by certifications including CSSP, CEH, and much more, and he's more into cloud security as well. Welcome, Chinthaka. Thank you so much for joining us with us today and accepting our invitation to present on ISC2 Ireland chapter. And today's topic will be securing the future of work, how enterprise browsers are redefining the secure access. So, Chinthaka, stage is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Inish. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, super. So again, thanks, Inish, for the introduction, and I'm very excited and happy to be here. So in today's session, I'm going to present to you about the Prism Access browser, which is an enterprise browser introduced by Palo Alto Networks. So what we will do throughout this session is we will explore how enterprise browsers differentiate from traditional browsers, and also what are the capabilities delivered by enterprise browsers. And also we will discuss some of the use cases that enterprise browsers today help to resolve, right? So, but before we begin, if I ask one question, right? If I ask what is the most important asset for an organization, what will be your answer? So feel free to come off mute or type it in the chat. Let us know. What is the most important asset for an organization? Any answers? See the chat.
Let's see the chat. So I think chat is open for everyone. Hope everyone can type, or you guys can unmute your mics and speak as well.
Information.
Yeah, information, data. So I think that's something we hear every day, that what most important asset for an organization becomes the data of that organization. The reason I actually asked this question is that we see enterprise browsers going to play a major role in securing important data for our business. So as we go through this session, I believe you will be able to correlate this fact and understand why this is something that we are really excited about. So before we actually dive into the product and discuss more on that, let's take a step back and start with what exactly are the problems that we are actually trying to solve, or what are the fundamental needs or the challenges that warrants a new approach to browsing in an organization. So over the last 5 years, the world actually went through an accelerated transformation. The way that we actually work, primary work, has changed. So starting from COVID, and then we had a Gen AI explosion in the last couple of years. So all of these things presented different challenges to organizations, and these are all challenges that need to be solved. So today, if you look at primary, the way that we work, we are confined into most of the work to the browser. That means we get more than 85% of the work done through the browser. And then as this has become the primary mode of productivity, but we also see that browsers are a lot more vulnerable, and amount of vulnerabilities or the CVEs that we have seen over the last years, right? And also we see a lot of the organizations, the attack actually originated from the browser itself. This is one of the challenges. And then also we see there's a spread of SaaS applications, right? So there are a lot of SaaS applications, but with Gen AI, what has happened, amount of SaaS applications has exploded. And based on our experience, average an organization, we see they are using around 10,000 plus SaaS applications. So what has happened is we see organizations are actually struggling to get the visibility and also control what are the actions that users are uh, doing in these SaaS applications. There's a reason for that is the traditional approach that we have always taken is to use network security, right? So in network security, what we are doing is when someone is accessing a SaaS application, we would take that packet in, we would decrypt that packet, and we will try to look inside that packet and see what are the data that's been transmitted. But in recent past, what we have seen is there are challenges where network security now cannot see inside these data. One of these things, common examples that we have is WhatsApp, where we see end-to-end encryption is there. We will not be able to see what's been shared on that data. The other type of things we have seen, there are a lot of cert-pinned applications. Also, a lot of these applications, they try to use proprietary protocols, which the network security will not be able to decrypt and see inside. So these are some of these challenges that actually make it risky for organizations to actually have that visibility around what's happening in those SaaS applications. Now they lack, and once if you don't have that visibility, you will not be able to do the control as well. The third big trend that we are seeing is we see lot more third-party devices being used, and also if you look at it from employee wise also, we also tend to use our personal devices to access the company's corporate data, right? Be it email, be it workspace, right? We tend to use our personal devices and access those resources. So all of these things become unsecured devices or unmanaged devices where data is being accessed. And if you look at the almost 90% of the ransomware attacks that has happened, all of these originated from unmanaged devices. And with all of these things, we put security controls in place, but employees try to find ways to bypass to accomplish business needs, not with malicious intent, but they sometimes they want to bypass that and get the work done. And even if you look at a device like BYOD, we might not be comfortable in installing a VPN and then making sure that all of our traffic goes through all the time. When we are doing office work, that is okay. But if you are when you're doing our personal work, we don't want the traffic to go through. So these are some of the major challenges that we have seen that organizations are trying to resolve. And now, because of these challenges, it led us to create the Prisma Access browser. So Prisma Access browser today can cater to any user, be it employees, contractors, or third parties, can cater to any device, be it managed or unmanaged device, and coming from any location, be it home, office, or even you are coming from an internet cafe or an airport and want to access any web application. This can be a private application, this can be a public application, or this can be application that has cert pinning or one of those technologies that I talked about. With this capabilities in, let's try to understand what makes Prisma Access browser a unique proposition compared to the traditional browsers that we are using, right? So Prisma Access browser is a Chromium-based browser, so that's similar to the what you are already using, be it Chrome, Edge, where all of these are based on Chromium. So you get a same look and feel of things, but Prisma Access browser, we make sure that we have only used the required components of that Chromium to deliver the experience for the user. And one of the key important propositions is that you don't need to do any infrastructure changes. So that makes it easy for you to get started and start using this browser. The other aspect of it is you don't need admin privileges to actually install this browser. For example, let's say you are an employee who's going to do some work for another company. So they give you the Prisma Access browser to install on your laptop. You don't need to go to your admin and get elevated privilege to install this browser. You can go ahead and do that without admin privileges. And then on top of that, what we have done is we have actually integrated this natively into our SASE platform. So with that, this browser is also available on multiple platforms, be it Windows, Mac, whether you are using an iPad or Android tablet, you can use this browser and get the work done. So one of the important things, so in the beginning, I made a statement that this is something that we are very excited about. And in one of the reports that Gartner brought out, they called out by 2030, enterprise browsers will be core platform that will be delivering workforce productivity and security software for managed and unmanaged devices. So there's a lot of potential that this enterprise browsers solve today in terms of challenges. Now, let's try to deep dive a little bit in terms of how enterprise browsers actually help organizations to address these challenges. Now, first and foremost, the major requirement is ensuring that users can get secure work done on any device. So be it managed, be it unmanaged, enterprises browsers can help you to get that work done. So one of the key concepts in that is that we provide an isolated environment for the enterprise applications within your endpoint itself. So that means whatever applications that you access using the enterprise browser, these are isolated in your endpoint itself. And then we make sure that you can get the work done securely using best-in-class security. This is one of the key differentiators that Palo Alto Networks brings in. And then on top of that, we make sure that we collect the right insights, high infidelity data, so that if you need to do any threat hunting or you need to do any forensics, you are able to do that. Next, once you start working, the next what we provide is complete visibility and control of all of your data. So be it defining zero trust permissions to make sure that you define the least privilege access to any of the applications. And then on top of that, you can define last mile controls. When I say last mile controls, it typically means the controls that happens on the endpoint. Let's say you're uploading something that becomes a last mile control. You're copying and pasting something that becomes a last mile control. So all of these controls we can define on the enterprise browser, including capabilities like just-in-time access. So that means you send a request to someone approves it, then only you will be able to access those applications. And on top of that, we are able to do data filtering. That means data classification and data controls in the enterprise browser for the applications. If you're uploading something sensitive, we'll be able to detect. If you're downloading something sensitive, we'll be able to detect and take control over that. The third capability that enterprise browser delivers is that it ensures that you are able to onboard users in a seamless manner. And also we give you tools like password managers where you'll be able to manage, securely manage the passwords without need to have a separate password manager. And also it has capabilities around sharing passwords. And also we have capabilities where we will collect user experience as well to make sure that when users are accessing a particular application, user gets the right uh, experience or the better experience. So all of these things cater to make sure that user gets a delightful experience where there won't be any friction in terms of, hey, I don't want to use this product, it hampers my productivity. So the whole idea behind enterprise browser is that it ensures that you get the optimum productivity and user also get the experience similar to using a general browser. Now, coming back to being a secure browser, one of the most important factors in in a secure browser is that what are the engines that will actually power these security controls, and also how effectively they can deliver those. So this is a unique differentiator that Palo Alto Networks brings in. As Palo Alto Networks, there are 70,000 plus customers that we collect high fidelity events. So daily we analyze up to 5.43 billion new events. And out of those, we analyze 77 million new files, and we detect 450 unique malicious files and we prevent them. So all of these things are capabilities that are delivered with the amount of data that we are getting. And whatever the data that we are collecting, those are uh, telemetry data, sanitized to make sure that nothing PII data or nothing is being shared, right?
Chinthaka, just a
So
question.
the,
So this seems to be like an
yeah,
interesting topic. And then do we have any sort of a demo that we have arranged today that you are presenting to the audience?
yes, yes.
Grant,
So what I'm going to
just a
do
question.
is I have few more slides, and after that I'll get into the demo and I'll actually show you this in action so that it actually you understand more in depth in terms of how the browser actually
Perfect.
works.
There will be more questions coming in once the audience see the real thing happening. Thank you.
Super. Yeah. Okay. Now let's double click on some of the main use cases that Prisma Access browser solves today. So the first use case that we talked about is independent workers. These workers can be remote workers. These can be third-party contractors that you have. So what we do is we make sure that you are able to onboard those users seamlessly and also provide them a secure access to your corporate applications. Then the second main use cases is around BYOD. So we have seen a lot of organizations have put in BYOD policies over the years, but it has been challenging to actually make sure that we secure the data that access through the BYOD devices. The same example I took, right? So even you and I personally, if we have to access corporate data using our personal devices, let's say there is a VPN that I need to install, I will install the VPN and I will access the data. And then I don't want it to be always on or continuously monitoring my what's happening on my device, right? So I would disconnect it. Then it poses a security challenge in terms of the device that is connecting, what is present on that device, whether that device is compromised and all of that. Then we'll come to GenAI. So GenAI with enterprise browser, the Prisma Access browser, you will get complete visibility in terms of how GenAI applications are used. And also you can make sure that your corporate data will not get ended up to train a model, right? And then VDI reduction. So VDI also has been a challenging subject throughout organizations because VDIs tend to be rather more expensive in terms of operating cost. And also from a experience perspective, also there had been challenges around VDI because it's a streaming based service that you're getting, right? And then uh, data protection, you get complete enterprise DLP capabilities, and also Palo Alto Network. The web protection is powered by Palo Alto Network's advanced URI filtering capabilities. And also in mergers and acquisitions, it becomes easy to onboard the company that is being onboarded. And also the Prisma Access browser has capabilities around privilege access management as well, where you would not need another solution to do privilege access management, especially when it comes to third parties or contractors. We can do just-in-time access controls. We can do screen recordings. We can have the complete record of activities, what has happened over the session in the enterprise browser. So these are some of the use cases, but it expands as it provides a lot more capabilities around data security, right? Now let's double
Chinthaka,
click. Yeah,
sorry, just one question from probably this might have a question from the audience as well. I would like to ask, you can answer later on this one. So in terms of the VDI or Synapse kind of an environment, what will be the
yeah.
differentiator for the secure browser from the Palo Alto Networks at this case? So what will be different, or what's the different element that secure browsing element comes in? Because let's say Citrix will be a VDI or app streaming in terms of that,
Yeah.
so you can stream much more apps. So how you define this in terms of this, if you compare to the Citrix and VDI or AVD kind of an environment?
Okay, great question. So one of the challenges, the first and foremost, what we have seen is most of the applications today has become web-based applications. So a lot of the applications are moving away from these thick clients and they become web-based applications. So as long as it's a web-based application, it's something that we can access through the browser. There are actually developments that are happening right now around enabling access to thick applications also using different mechanisms, but probably I'll talk about when the features are available. So, but as of now, you can think of as any web application that organizations has, we can provide that access. And also, it's not just about web applications that relies on the internet. I'm talking about applications that are privately hosted in your data centers or cloud data centers as well. So all of this we can deliver through the enterprise browsers. And then I'll probably, as we go on, I'll probably talk about a lot more on the last mile data controls, which are some of these data controls are something that you will not be able to do in a VDI type of environment. Okay. So hopefully we can revisit maybe once we finish this setup and you go through the demo and all of those things. I believe you will get
Absolutely.
a much more
No,
idea in
absolutely.
terms of what are the capabilities. So we'll double click on that. Okay. So now, so I want to just come back to the three key capabilities which we actually discussed earlier. So we talked about enterprise browser being able to deliver a secure environment. We talked about it being a delivering isolated environment. I'll double click on that. And then we'll talk about a little bit more on these last mile data controls. What are the type of controls that we have? And also how we make sure that it's a user first workspace where we make sure that right user experience is there and we get the right visibility. Okay. Now, so we talked about this being an isolated environment. So you can think of enterprise browser as a secure bubble inside your machine. So VDI becomes a secure bubble where it's hosted somewhere else, but enterprise browser, it becomes a secure bubble inside your machine. So we make sure that someone cannot tamper with the files or the resources that enterprise browser use today. We have protections around memory attacks, or even if there are tools like keyloggers that is present in the machine, if somebody enters something on the enterprise browser, keylogger will not be able to capture that. And then we also have security around man in the middle attacks, where let's say trusted certificate was installed on the device, but we can actually control the certificates that we trust on the enterprise browser to make sure that there's no man in the middle attack can take place when using enterprise browser. And also we have the capabilities from managing the DNS. We can do DNS of HTTPS on the enterprise browser. So these are some of the capabilities. Along with that, we can do screen locks. We can make sure temporary sessions are provided, and the moment the browser is closed, all the session cookies, everything is removed, and no data is present. And then we also check the device posture as well in terms of uh, the whether the antivirus and those things are running. We can do multiple posture checks on the device as well. So now with all of those things, when you access web, maybe we can do protections around malicious downloads, uploads, and then we can do protections around accessing phishing websites. We have large amount of database and also real-time detections around phishing, malware, ransomware websites. And also we reduce the attack surface on the browser. We make sure that right patches goes in. You have the full control in terms of the patches that goes to in the browser. It doesn't have, like I said, it's a toned down version in the Chromium where it doesn't have any unnecessary components. So all of these makes a browser a secure workspace to work on. And then on top of that, you get the complete visibility in terms of all the activities that happens on the browser. Be it whatever the activities that user does, all of that, you get the complete visibility. Now, then I talked about this earlier. So the security engines that powers the Prismax's browser are the same security capabilities that we have around sandboxing, that is our advanced wildfire. And then we have advanced URL filtering capabilities, which is our URL filtering engine that do real-time analysis of URLs. And then we have advanced threat protection that actually defend against malwares and malicious files being downloaded or uploaded. So all of these things are trained to work on even for unknown samples to make sure that we detect all of these type of attacks in real time. And then I told you that we are collecting high amount of data. So that's where this investigation panel comes into play. We collect screenshots, we collect event recordings, we can have full session recordings. We will have data snippets as well. And also all of these evidence will be available and we will have them in a timeline in terms of what all activities that user did. So this becomes much easier if we have to troubleshoot something or to understand what all things happen along the route. So you will have the complete visibility. Now, putting these things together, previously what all happened was on the Chrome browser, you will not have that visibility in terms of what activity is done by the user. But with Prism Access browser, you will have all that visibility around what happened on the browser on that session, right? Now I'll come to the last mile control. So when you're defining a policy, I mentioned that you can define least privilege permissions. So we will understand who are the users. We can look at the device posture. Maybe if you're coming from the managed device, I will allow you to access certain resources. But if you are coming from the unmanaged device, let's say you're using your BYOD devices, I will not let you access certain resources. I can do controls in that way. And then I can actually do controls around file upload, download. I can make sure that you cannot copy paste in between applications. I can define what applications you are allowed to copy paste and what applications you are not allowed to copy paste. I can do print, screenshot, screen share blocking. Then I can make sure that I can do things like type guarding, masking, and all of that. And then we have DLP capabilities also inbuilt to this browser. So we have more than 1,000 plus data classifiers available. And also we have machine learning based classifiers also. We have OCR, EDM, IDM capabilities, and also predefined regulation compliance profiles that you can use out of the box is available. And then on top of that, you can do controls like MFA just in time, and then you can make sure that admin approval workflows are there, where if user wants to do an activity which is not sanctioned, then you send a request to the admin and get permission, and then you can go about that. uh, you can do that action once you get permissions. And then on top of that, we can do controls around file movements as well. I'll talk a little bit more on the demo session around the control that we have around file. We can make sure that you cannot write directly to USBs and all of that. And then I'll come to bit on the user experience part of things, right? So I talked about the enterprise password manager. So we have a password manager inbuilt to the browser where you don't need to use separate tools to manage passwords. And in that also we can do things like, let's say there is a shared password within the team. For some reason, there is one application where you are sharing one password. In this, we can actually set up in a way that actual password is not exposed, and then the whatever the password that each user gets is a different password and not exposing the actual password. And then we can make sure that the auto filling and all of those things are done using this password manager. And one of the other interesting features that we have is we have capabilities around live streaming as well. So let's say there is a third-party contractor who are working on the product, and there are some issues that the contractor is facing. They're saying, okay, I don't know how to navigate this, or I want some guidance in terms of navigating. So we can actually take a live session of that user's page, and we can look at it, and then we can guide the user. You don't need another tool or a tool to be Zoom or some other tool to actually control it. And then we'll be able to collect the troubleshooting information also directly. And also we have inbuilt real user metric collection. So that is based on when you access a website, what is the performance, how long it took to load that website. We can actually collect those information as well from the browser itself. So these are some of the capabilities that we have. I have large list of capabilities listed here in terms of what we can do and cannot do. So I'll take a pause, have a look at this, and let me prepare myself for the demo. I'll need to bring up the screens. So feel free to ask if there's any questions, anything meantime.
Audience, if you have any questions, you can shoot it out right now. Or during the demo as well, so you can ask any questions. So you do have the ability to unmute your mic, or you can drop the question on the chat as well. So both are available. So while Chinthaka shared the screen on the demo, would like to share a note here. So thank you so much for everyone joining today. And if we shared a Microsoft form, so I think Cliff already shared a Microsoft form. This is for the ISC2 CPEOs. So please make sure to claim your CPRs, just fill out the form and send it to us. So we'll submit on behalf of you.
Dinesh, I have a question. Maybe
Go ahead.
Chinthaka can respond leisurely. Right, a simple
Hey,
one,
hi,
though.
Sujit.
Right. Hi, Chinthaka. Great to
Yep.
see you. Great presentation as always. Right, and thank
Thanks.
you for taking time to share your knowledge and experience. Just to put things in context, right? So it's a very important piece of security in this complete landscape. What would be the prerequisite to avail this feature? Like, do you need to be a Palo Alto customer? Do you need to be running Palo infrastructure to do this? Or can it be a standalone implementation? Just
This
for the
completely
benefit of the
standalone. Yeah, this is completely standalone. You don't need any other thing to be present to use this. This completely standalone. We can set it up and then get started.
super. Thank you.
Okay. So, we
Sorry, I
talked
think
about.
Cliff, you have a question as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I had put my question in chat, but I'll just try to replay it. How do we address the concern of users, especially from a data privacy perspective, right? So I'm with definitely being a security practitioner, I'm a bit finicky about what the administrators are seeing me doing on the browser, as much as it's corporate data and work. There are those caveats around GDPR and data privacy and obligations, data privacy obligations to the employees. So how is that addressed in this case?
Absolutely true. It's a very valid question. I think the moment we tell that, hey, I'm going to monitor everything, I'm going to log everything, there's always going to be the question, what's the level of privacy, right? So from a GDPR perspective, we have first and foremost, what matters is where the data presence, right? So that we have taken care, we have made sure that data is present in the right regions to make sure that compliances are there. And then the second point of things is when we're actually doing logging, we have different settings where we can actually make sure that even we can retract all the user information, usernames, all of that we can retract and we can log so that the minimal information is there where if you are doing any this thing. So that those controls are in place to make sure that we adhere to whatever the compliances and all of those things. So you can do that, and this is not a one blanket control. You can do that control based on the application. Let's say corporate applications, you might do less controls because you're already doing a lot of I'm saying from a logging perspective, you're already doing a lot of controls. You might not want to do a session recording and all of those things. Maybe there might be risky applications where you might do much more of a session recording, whereas in things demand, you will collect information as it is. So you have the ability to customize that login and all of that. Yeah. Okay. So I think we talked about this being a browser where you can install without admin privileges and all of those things, right? Now, the first question that comes in all of those things is, how do I make sure that user doesn't use Chrome to access applications and uses only the enterprise browser, right? So one of the ways that we actually accomplish this is using conditional access policies. So I'm pretty sure you are familiar with Microsoft Azure AD. They have Entra ID. They have conditional access policies in place. So I'll just showcase here. I have an account. So I'm just this my just normal Chrome browser. So if I try to log into my environment, I have. So this Everis.co is a alliance company that we have in terms of for the demos. So if I try to log in, it asks me for the password. Let me put the password. Okay, so this what happens when you try to access your corporate applications. with using other browsers, we'll be able to block that using conditional access policies. We provide your dedicated own infrastructure to put these conditional access policies in. I'm happy to double click on that if there's any questions, anything. And few other mechanisms that we can do is we actually have inbuilt certificates available on the browser where we can do cert-based controls also in case if you are not able to do conditional access policies, or if you want to do some additional controls. Apart from that, we can do header insertions as well to the browser, which we have implemented. Let's say there is a firewall device or a WAF device where we can look at a specific header and put in controls, we can do that. And also, apart from that, we have a browser extension. Now, let's say you are transitioning from using Chrome, and users might be initially reluctant to move ahead. Even for us, when we started using enterprise browser, they said, okay, there is a browser is installed, start using that. So we gradually get used to, and then they will say, okay, after 1 month's time, maybe we are going to revoke access from the Chrome to these particular applications. You make sure that you have access and all of those things. So till that happens, what we have is we have something called an extension where we can actually install on the Chrome. So if it is managed, especially if they are managed devices, we can put this extension in place where we will start capturing the data, and then also we can do redirections. Let's say you are going to access your corporate O365 environment, I can actually redirect user to use the enterprise browser. So you can see here the message also that's saying download Prisma Access browser to access Everest applications. Now, I'll come to the enterprise browser. So as you can see, the first thing is when you are logging into the browser, we will use SAML-based authentication or other mechanisms for authentication. And also we do posture checks as well. So we can do whether the string lock is active, whether disk is encrypted, endpoint protection is available. We can do multiple checks in terms of posture. And if based on the posture, we can define what are the access that user gets as well. First thing, we can define whether user is allowed to access based on the posture. And then second is, based on the posture, we can define what are the applications user is able to access and not able to access. For example, differentiating between BYOD and managed devices, if the employees has, we can define different policies. And then also when you're getting started, we can actually import the bookmarks. We can do some customizations. We can actually import the bookmarks that we have on the Chrome itself to the enterprise browser, Chrome OH. And then you will get notifications around. So these are some guides around how to use this browser. And then we have tags enabled, which will tell us what are the restrictions on that particular page. And then this talks about having the notifications, where to find the notification. Let's say you request for access approval for something, and whether you approval got approved or not, all of that information you will see under notifications. And then these are the messages that you typically get. So we'll look at those when we are during the demo. And now I'll get started with the browsing. And the first thing that you see, this browser is completely customizable. So you can add your own logo. You can have a message. Let's say for different teams, you can have different messages. Maybe an important message that there is a, let's say your case so has to be filled, completed today. We can send it as a message. There is a form that you need to fill and submit. We can send it as a message. So maybe different set of users has to do something. Okay, there is a important upgrade that is happening in the office. So we can send out messages like that. And then also we can set all the shortcuts that users need. Especially this is very helpful. Let's say you're onboarding a new user. You don't have to send, okay, these are the URLs for the particular applications. We can set all of those as shortcuts on the browser, and user just have to click and they'll be able to access. Same goes for third-party contractors as well. You don't have to send all the URLs separately in a mail and ask them to bookmark. You don't have to do any of those things. All of this will be available at a click of a button. Now let's access some of these applications. So I have a Salesforce instance. And so since I have previously logged in, I was able to access a couple of things. You can see there is a tag that says it's a business application. And also this shows that data masking is enabled on this page. And you can already see that credit card numbers are masked on this page because it's not something that I'm supposed to see. They have put in a policy where they will mask this type of data. And if I click on this business tag, I can see what are the controls that are applicable to this page. I'm not able, there are login controls. It says login can only be done for certain domains. So if you try to log in with a Gmail or another domain, you'll not be able to log in. So data masking is enabled for credit card numbers. We also have typing restrictions for credit card numbers. So if I try to type in a credit card number, there will be restrictions. I have print blocking. I cannot take any printouts. I also have developer tools blocked. And also then I have file download restrictions. I have clipboard restrictions around copying, and also I have capture restrictions. Now let's look at this clipboard restriction. This is a very interesting use case. Now, when I go in this, I can see there are multiple data present. Now, let's say I take this one. So this is not something that is sensitive. The account site is Nivio. So I'll copy this. I'll try to, let's say, I'll go to ChatGPT. And this says ChatGPT is classified as a risky application. It gives a notification, but I have the permission where I can actually select proceed anyway and go to that. I'm going to say I'm going to try ChatGPT and I'll try to paste this data. I'm able to paste it and I'm able to send that data as well. Right. Now let's look at an text file, right? So if I want to paste it into the text file, I can paste it as well. I hope the text file is also visible because I shared my entire screen. I hope this is visible.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. Now let's see, there is a social security number, right? So I can copy this, and what I can do is I can actually try and paste this into ChatGPT. And here I'm getting a message saying, I have detected sensitive data. I'm not allowing you to copy this. Okay, fine. So what I can do is I can try to type this. $79. Then again, it detected that I'm actually entering a sensitive data. Then I have the permission where I can actually request permission to send this. Otherwise, I can just close this. What will happen is, since it has detected that there is going to be a sensitive data, this has masked that data. And even if I try to send it, it says, look, you have typed some dots in. Okay. Now let's try to take this data and put it to the same text file, right? And when I try that, it says pasting this data from Prismax's browser is prohibited, right? So how this is important, this particular use case, if you look at it, we have the ability to control in terms of how the data moves from an important enterprise applications. So I can say between certain applications, I will allow you to copy and paste. Maybe between your CRM and your email, you are allowed to copy paste emails, you are able to take that. But in case if you try to take that email addresses or custom addresses, all of that into a different application, something on the Chrome or something like a text pad, all of those things you will not be able to do. So we can create these bubbles and then we can define what are being allowed to copy paste, what are being allowed to take out, and then what is not allowed to take out. So all of that, we can do a blanket copy paste, or we can do, okay, look at whether sensitive data is there, and then we can do controls. Okay. Now I will come to a different application. I have a Dropbox. Let's see. A second. Okay. Let me. Yeah. Okay. Not Dropbox. I wanted to access actually Box application. So in here, I have certain files. This is a file storage that I have. So the first one I want to actually showcase is around printing capabilities. Now, this particular file is something that I don't have anything sensitive. Again, the same tag business is there, and I have security controls in place, and I can see printing is blocked if credit card numbers or social security numbers are present. Now, if I try to print this, let me do that. Okay, so it gives me the prompt to print. I can go ahead and either save it as PDF or I can select a printer and print this. Now let's go back. I have a file with some credit card numbers. Now, if I try to do the print here, see, we get a message saying printing this page is not allowed. So we can do print controls in terms of if the sensitive data is present, I'm not going to allow you to do printing as well. Same thing I can do for download controls, like copy paste controls, and all of those we can do. And next, I will show you around file downloads. We have a very interesting concept. Now, this file doesn't have anything sensitive. I'm just going to download this. It asks for an additional MFA when I want to download. So I'm going to provide that MFA, and it scanned whether there's a malware or not. And here you can see when you download, it downloaded in an encrypted format. So this is another control that we can define where when you're downloading something, we can actually encrypt that in a way that you will not be able to use it anywhere. So only place that you can use this file is this particular browser logged in from that user. So the encryption keys, everything is attached to this particular instance of this user. And now then we can define certain controls. Now let's say there is a file that is being downloaded, where the file can be uploaded, where the file can be used. For example, if I want to use this particular file in O365, I can maybe Outlook email of my enterprise instance. I'll allow you to upload that and use that. But beyond that, let's say for be it ChatGPT or something, I want to upload that, I will not allow you to do that. So this gives complete control of your files that are being downloaded and where you can upload and all of that. Next, I have another file called invoice. So I'm going to try to download this. It again asks for the MFA. And then because this file has something malicious, it says this file appears to be malicious and it's been blocked. So this is the malware, the antivirus security controls being in play where we block something malicious. Okay. So I talked about enterprise browsers having capabilities around we have capabilities to provide you RDP access as well. Let's say you have RDP instance, we can provide you access to that as well. Even if you have SSH instances, I can provide access to that as well. I think there might be an issue. Yeah. So right now there's a issue on the backend in terms of providing that access. Maybe I'll just showcase around web blocking capabilities as well. So if there's, let's say,
sorry, there's one question, Chinthaka. So let's assume, so I'm taking a use case, right? So you probably, we both work on the same kind of environment then, so we can relate to this when I say the use case probably. So let's assume you have a privilege identity or access management system, right? And you have a front-ending portal to log into that system, right? Can you onboard that as part of the enterprise browser? So I'm not trying to cover the whole 360. At least I cover my administrators at this point in time. And then anyway, on the back end, it'll be secured from the PIM or PAM system on the other side. But will I be able to control the access to specific set of users rather than you publishing the, your PAM page to the outside or visible to everyone? Can you limit that access to only specific set of users using the enterprise browser?
Absolutely. So that is something, even let's say you host your solution on-prem privately. So or on a cloud privately, we can actually give that specific access because to access the enterprise browser instance, you have to authenticate. So the moment you authenticate using your organizations, then only you will get access to that. And then on top of that, we can give you that access and the control. Only for specific users, we can disclose that.
And my next question will be what's the best method that you guys are proposing in terms of a Microsoft kind of an environment? Let's say we might have Intune or like a RMM tool or device management tool. Can we use Intune to push this browser application into the endpoints that we have, or how does it work? Do we have a solution on this case?
Absolutely. So even for us, what they did was they used JAMF and Intune to actually push these applications, and it got installed on the machine. And then, like I said, the whole process went through. Okay, now you have the we install the you have the browser installed. Start using that. Start exploring, and then slowly, gradually, they'll say, okay, I'll start doing restrictions where you have to shift and then completely use the enterprise browser for all the activities.
Yeah.
So
My next question will be, sorry, I have loads of use cases and I just want to clear it out. I know you're the best person to ask this. Probably you're the expert on this area. So let's assume you might have an application dependency to operate an application, let's say SAP instance or your Oracle instance or whatever the instance that you are operating. You might have a, let's say, an old JRE dependency or something like that, right? To run that thing. Can you operate on a lower grade or any sort of a downgraded application versions on top of this browser and then contain in with that environment into this bubble?
We can. So there is a way that we can run certain applications in, we call this as Internet Explorer compatible mode, right? So we can run in that as well.
Okay, perfect.
And then we have a lot of security controls in Wind around what runs, whether we are allowed to run WebL, whether we are going to allow you to run Java. We can do all of those security controls on the browser. We can do read-only pages if needed. So a lot of controls are there in that case.
Chinthaka, if I may interrupt there, Inesh, I'm sorry. So while your technology has the capability to restrict execution of various types of code, would it also, cause a different risk? I mean, sometimes, the applications may not be developed based on best practices, and then you're saying, okay, these are not supposed to be, developed based on this basis, but then you are disabling the best features in your tool and executing the application. Would that be a risk? How are we going to manage that?
So all of these security controls we can define for different categories of applications, right? Certain applications, I would say, okay, I'm not going to restrict anything. I'm going to let you run as it is. But then maybe for general applications or maybe some things that I might classify as risky. So let's say there's a high risky URLs, then I would make sure that, okay, these are read-only pages. I will not allow you to run those additional controls. So I can do those customizations and enable that access. So I have that capability.
So while you have the capability, I'm looking at the overheads for the organization. So how much of knowledge should they have to customize? I'm not saying from a configuration technology perspective, but from knowing what they have, because we always believe you need to know all the assets and you need to know the nitty-gritties as well. How are we going to discover? Is there a way to discover so that they can use that as a basis to configure it much swiftly?
Absolutely. So I was coming into that. So let's say first angle to it is that you will generally deploy it as sort of a read-only mode where you try to see, okay, what's happening. You collect the data and then you put the security controls in place. And then subsequently, so that's a first approach that we take when deploying initially. And then subsequently, what comes is then let's say something gets blocked, you will obviously have a log which you can refer. Okay, when the user access this particular application, this was tried to run, I didn't allow it to run. So, okay, it needs to be allowed. So I will create a policy where I will allow that particular function to run. So all those logs are captured. So you get complete visibility around all of these. Whatever we are controlling, you get the access around that.
Okay, thank you.
Chinthaka, I have a thank you, Sujit. Chinthaka, I have another question. So rather than we opening this one, is there a capability for this browser to learn and profile the applications? Let's say you have a legacy application which built by in-house developer and then he passed away like like let's say a decade ago, and no one knows how this application works, and then no one dare to touch that application because it's if it breaks, and then no one knows how to fix it. So having said that, will this browser, if we onboard this application to the browser to access, and then is there a mechanism that we can apply a learning for, let's say 30-day period, we'll do all the gymnastics with this application, and browser will learn the pattern of the, let's say it use Java, let's say very old version, a dependency, and then let's say .NET framework, very old, and then all these hard-coded things that they have done. Will it be able to profile kind of a thing and then understand how the application works as a baseline? If I may put it in a different way, can you baseline the applications and say, all right, to run this application, these are the dependencies listed down as per my learning?
So as of now, what we are doing is we give the visibility. For example, let's say a particular URL. Let's say, for instance, particular URL is there. So when you try to access that URL, what all, let's say there was a JavaScript that was trying to run. So we give all of that visibility. Then based on that visibility, you can, because if you recall that I have this complete visibility around what all things that happened on a timeline. So then you can refer to that timeline and you can get that visibility. Right now, there's no automated way of thinking, hey, this is what needs by this browser, but you get all the types of alerts in that, okay, this is what was trying to run. You get the log visibility. So based on that, you can take the decision.
And there's another one, say some applications work on a different port addresses, right? So not the 443 and 80 can be in a total different. So are you guys supporting on all these different ports as well? Or is there a dependency on the browser, or there's no absolute dependency?
The ports doesn't matter. It's more of the protocols. We actually support even WebRTC. For even call centers, we have deployed this browser where the browser that uses WebRTC. We support all of them. No issues at all.
Great. That's all from my side so far. So if anyone has questions, so you can ask now. You have, I think we already jump into the Q&A, isn't it, Chinthaka?
Yeah. I think we are almost top of the hour as well.
Yes. I think if anybody needs any clarification, they can also reach out to Chinthaka on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. You can directly write to Chinthaka, or you can write it to us. We can read out to Chinthaka as well. So it doesn't matter. So you get the answer somehow.
Yes. I hope you got the idea around why enterprise browsers are going to play a major role and how it will actually help to secure the data of an organization. It can be like we talked about defense in depth. While we have all the other security solutions in place, this can be an add-on layer that makes sure that your data stays within your confined boundaries.
Absolutely, Chinthaka. And I think we reached a stage there is no borders to define. So it's borderless organization. So in that context, how do you ensure a user knowingly or unknowingly takes classified information and feeds into a generative AI tool to get their work done? And everybody wants to get their job done, no matter what.
Correct.
And they find the easiest way to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So
absolutely.
That can become a regulatory non-compliance or even, leading to various penalties and issues. So I think every organization will have to protect that information. They may not be a regulated organization, but they may be servicing a regulated industry or a regulated organization. So the supply chain has to be secure. So in that process, every single identity has to be protected along with the data which they access. Okay. I'll hand the session back over to you.
No. Any questions you can ask, or we can go for the closure of today's webinar. If we can give a couple of seconds to see whether is there any questions from the audience. Anyone?
Not for today. It's good.
Yes. Hi, Tarun.
Thank you so much for joining from a different part of the world.
Nice. Happy to see you guys.
Happy to see you too as well. We can see you anyway. Happy to hear from you anyway.
Okay.
All right then.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining today. So we're gonna closure for this one. So, but anyway, you can find the recording on YouTube channel. So please like us, subscribe us on our official YouTube channel for ISC2 Ireland chapter. And this is also a live recording which is happening on the LinkedIn. So you can go back and refer to the LinkedIn live recording as well. Whatever means it's free for you, you can refer back again. And thank you so much for joining today. And thank you so much, Chinthaka, for sharing your valuable insights. And have a good night.
Thank you.